Ah, is that working? There we go. That's working. Yes, I am a bit late. Oh well. Where are we then? Let me just check the qualifying order quickly. Hey, you guys making a return. And Jakob. It's good to see the Czechs back. If I just check tyres as well. Let's have a look who's pit. Just Frankie and JJ right now, and surprisingly the undercar hasn't worked, even if that is, yeah. And then as well, it hasn't DNF'd yet. Who else? Well, they've already had 3 DNFs, so I don't know what's happened in this race. But, only, what, 23 laps left? Blimey. Alright then. Well, obviously, as you can see, we are at Zandvoort, and not much else to comment on apart from, well, one McLaren and one Ferrari being tied at the top of the championship right now, Jane and Frankie. If I just look at Frankie and JJ's stints, yes, both just medium hard stints. So they're probably attempting the very risky one stop at Zandvoort because tyre wear, especially at this corner, is very hard. Also, Danny's having a good race. Of course, he was almost on track for a win if he hadn't had a crash with his very own teammate at the very end of the Belgian Grand Prix. Well, yes, all day. Why? Well, I can't. And for being on hards, both RBs kind of shown decent pace in, I think they'd be 6th and 7th after the pit stops. Well, no, they'd be 1 2 after the pit stops because they're on hard, of course. But then after the pit stops, they'd be probably behind JJ and Frankie, or ahead of someone like Stelios, who's also on the hards. So they'd actually be 5 6. And, speaking of, Jane decides to cut the white line to just try and send the Deli on Sam. Trying to get the slip show on Danny at the same time, but Danny goes into the pits. Jane, a lot of times this season, has opted to go early, trying to ease them tyres to the end, and you can just see the wear on that front left hand. Does not look pretty. Yeah, he's doing something different this time. He's going long on the first stint, and then hopefully having a better tyre advantage at the very end, unless something happens. I don't know what's happened right now, because I've seen 3 DNFs really. Hello? No. No, I'm fine, thanks. Ooh, shit. Wish I wasn't muted then, but kind of glad I am too, because Jin has probably thrown away any chance of a win now. With a 10-second penalty, and on the older hards, well, newer hards, he has been undercut by Danny. I'm still not sure in those camera sends. I'll have to see what everyone else thinks. But he has got decent track position. Well, 3 seconds to Frankie at the very least, and then a solid 3 seconds ahead of them is JJ, who has really been making a charge up for the championship right now. Oh, well, that's something as I completely didn't notice, but Sam was the only one who has not pitted yet on the mediums, probably going to try and come in this lap, but he is now being swarmed by a tail of 2 yellow and white cars, the RBs. And then only 6 seconds back, or 6.7 seconds back, is JJ. And, well, is Sam going to pit? He does pit, so now the RBs are free to go and unleash themselves. And hopefully then, new fresh mediums at the very end of this race could possibly give them a chance for a podium. You know, Uri, well, these two, reigning teams champion last year, haven't done more than 5 races, I think, this season. Just goes to show how little, or how much can change within one season. Anyway, I think that gap has gone a bit further down between JJ and Frankie. Not that much though. The gap's still quite extended. Well, Frankie does have a penalty as well, but nothing as big as Jaden 10 second. See how carefully the drivers have to manage their throttle and brake at these corners because they're so long, kind of off-cambered, or on-cambered, I don't know what the saying is. But very long and swooping corners, definitely. And they kind of slow down throughout the lap. Well, second sector, really. It's a constant mitigate this, roll it through every single corner. Union's done it well. I kind of got the 3rd one of the title challenges. But as you see, he hasn't got that much ERS. Neither does Danny, so they both will be fighting on the same level of battery. And Jaden doesn't have the speed to get past that Red Bull in the straight line. Danny lives to fight for another day for a possible podium. Oh shit, that's Stelios in the mud. I'm assuming he's probably just digged one reel into the gravel there and gone for a little spinneroo. Well, hasn't DNF'd yet, which is insane. He's got 18 laps, which is probably more than his entire season's length. And Uri was ahead the entire time, and then the game kind of flipped him. I don't know, maybe they did do a swap, but these two definitely chugging along quite well, the RBs. They will come out probably upwards of like 18 seconds behind JJ right now. But they are pushing on, to be fair to them. They are doing quite well with the DRS for each other. Uri having good pace on his return. Of course, left at around 2, I think, or 3. Due to, well, basically due to Red Fire Tiger. But you come back, finally. Made ends meet. And without a race without Red Fire Tiger equals good UI pace. And Will's got a second penalty. Actually, let's have a look at the penalties. So, yeah, Frankie's also got 10 seconds. That actually really spices things up now between the Ferrari and the McLarens. I thought that was a simple 3 second. No, that's a full 10 second each. So now, with 60 laps to go, it looks like it's going to be basically racing to the flag between Jaden. Is always getting those two mixed up. Jaden and Frankie, or F1 Union. So it's just the JJ will win though. So it will probably be JJ, Danny, Frankie as it stands on the podium. Possibly Samuel Drake Lee making his way onto a podium first time in the season, or first time in a long time this season. Standings there. Let me just do some quick math and get back to what the standings will be if it finishes as it stands, of course excluding the ERVs. Is there a bit of an outlier on those hards? Probably will be pitting anytime soon, I believe, since they have kind of spaced themselves out for a pit stop. That has what Jakob has done. So Uri will actually be the one to go out for an extra lap, although he was the one who pit early, or who was leading the two. Jakob, he kind of he makes, well, kind of gives us a read of where both RBs will be. Roderick Lee lost a lot of time to the guys up ahead. The gap is 6.7 seconds, and you know, it's kind of in the RB's hands to try and catch up to the Ferrari. And there's a crash. That's it's just Will. Never mind. Right then, so 182 plus 25 for the win would be 207 for JJ. And then let's say Frankie finishes 4th, which I think is 12 points. And then Jane would be 5th, which is 10 points. So 207 to 212 to 200. No. JJ would be on 207. Jaden would be on 210. Then Frankie would probably be on 210. 12, sorry, that's the one. Horrible math skills. That's all, not including if Samuel Drake Lee can make a charge at the very end, and same with Uri and Jakob. If they can put themselves in the mix, then they can definitely maybe cause some waves. And Jakob's actually the RB to get ahead of his teammate, so the undergo hasn't worked, but they'll probably switch it around if Uri has more pace. I'm sure those two are communicating well. Two very good teammates last year, of course, constructors. And this year, however, they're watching their team from the constructors they won with DNF, with only one car in the grid, which is Sam. Oh, well, I did not notice that, but out of the blue, Danny has actually got past Frankie for P2 on tracks. It's looking like a Red Bull can take his first podium of the season. He's showing extremely good pace today. And here's a question though. He's on fresh hard, or fresher hards than JJ up ahead on older hards as well. So all of a sudden, it's looking like we could have a battle for the win with 30 laps to go. Jakob and Uri set the fastest lap of the race, as Uri does switch over. But then, as it stands, Sam would make itself back to the podium still. But that gap is floating around that 6-second mark. I'm surprised a lot of drivers did get a 10 seconds though. You'd think in Tier 1 they don't do that much often, but how quick they're always pushing to be, it happens quite more than you think. Sam is, well, he had the chance of the podium, and now it seems like it's going to be falling out of his hands quite quickly, because the exact same thing as a couple laps ago has happened again. He's being swarmed by the RBs again. These two are quite deadly on attack base, as it seems right now. Always together. Well, very Apex GP of them. To always be at one. Let's see how this battle unfolds. Of course, fresh mediums versus older hards. Sam's actually got a pit window enabled, so I don't know what he's doing there. I don't know if it's a potential tube stop. I'm very surprised, because these two took their mediums 20 laps. The hards 20 laps, sorry. And I don't know when Sam pitted, but he didn't. He was actually the last of the medium runners to pit. So it would be a surprise. That gap up ahead is staying at that 4.3 mark though, and Frankie and Jaden don't have enough speed. Yeah, Sam. Oh, almost pits. However, no match for one RB, and he lets the other RB pass too. And all of a sudden, both RBs are now into V5 and 6. It could get tasty, this battle between Jaden and Frankie, because obviously they're still tied on points with only 8 rounds left, so this can get interesting. And some of their pit windows are still open, so like, I'm assuming they just never updated the strategy, or anything really. Just look at their tyres. Yeah, 3 lap tyre offset for Danny, and well, 1 lap tyre offset for Frankie against JJ. And that gap still hasn't made any real inroads, especially not as much as Danny would want in the final couple of laps. Well, we're entering the final 10 laps, really. And yeah, question though, if maybe can the RBs pull this out of the bag? They will probably be slower at the end of the race, but right now, can they make the offset work? There's a yellow flag, that's just will. They almost cut salvage release time by an entire second. Well, I'm here though. Let me check some warnings. None for JJ. None for Danny. Well, 1 for speeding in pit lane. 1 singular track limit. 1 singular track limit. No. So, surprisingly, no one is being caught out by turning too early there, running a bit too wide there, cutting the inside here, or even cutting that, well, penultimate chicane. There's quite a few places you can validate, but of course, being so close to walls and deadly curves this track, it doesn't really happen often. This is probably one of the bigger ones, so you're just turning a bit too early to the inside. But maybe I'm running wide here. There's some opportunities, but not many. Although I just named half the track. That's only really if you make a mistake. That's not something these guys really do. Well, with another penalty, and Uri just blasts past, and it's 4.6 to Jaden and Frankie. As it stands, that RB is, well, getting on a podium. Uri's return podium. As it would stand, or even with Jakob. Maybe, just maybe, a potential double podium is on the cards for the V-Carbs. On the carbs? On the carbs. That's the new saying. Because you can see how quickly those RBs are pushing to catch up to Jaden and Frankie and Danny. And Danny just doing his thing right now, just chilling in none. He's got the straight line speed advantage over the Ferrari and McLaren behind. He's just being a corkscrew for them right now, all while they are still improving and slowly creeping on JJ. But that gap is, well, it's 9 laps to go now, while we're entering 8. It hasn't really moved since 16 laps to go. It's gone from 4.3, now it's 3.8. But it hasn't really it isn't making as big of an inroad as you'd think. And then the RB is switching again. Of course, they are relying on those DRS to help them. This is kind of what you would see last season when they were at Alpine. Just constant teamwork, making the dream work. See that gap already down to 3.2. Jakob and Uri flying along. They are ones to watch that podium in the end. I would not put it past a double RB podium. I definitely couldn't. Because Danny obviously isn't really getting as much on JJ as he'd probably like if he's trying to fight for a win. But if he's trying to fight for P2, he's doing exactly what he needs to do. But for the likes of Frankie and Jaden, the run of JJ, Frankie and Jaden podiums is about to come to an abrupt end. Because, well, those three have kind of shared a bit of dominance throughout this entire season. Those three just kind of taking up every single podium you can. I don't think I've had a single race without having interviewed them, apart from possibly Australia with Frankie. I still don't remember if Robin or Frankie got that podium. I think I interviewed Frankie from it. Well, no, I didn't, because it was Robin, and he got a penalty afterwards. So, yeah. No. And he kept the podium anyway after his pens, and the Xbox probably crashed because of it. Yeah, anyway. That is what I know, and yeah. It was in round 1. We haven't seen either JJ, Frankie, or Jane off the podium. And, well, of course, JJ, as it stands, is probably cruising to another win. But we could have 2 new podium sitters, which hasn't happened in a long time. Well, I say a long time, I say probably Silverstone, because it was Jaden, Woizo, and Red. You'd think Red would be a normal podium sitter, but he hasn't raced that much to be a real contender. Even now, think about it. That gap between Frankie and Union is still, Frankie and Union to Sam, is still probably like under 10 seconds. So, there's the RB switching again. So, if anything, Frankie and Jane could see himself finishing 6th and 7th. Which could really, really throw a spanner in the works for their championship against JJ, who has been the man to beat. And he has been the man who you can't beat for the pretty much this entire race. And with 6 laps left, I'll just have to sort this thing out. And, well, in probably a blink of an eye, look down for 1 second and look back up, and boom, the RBs are here. Those mediums have definitely worked, and it is for sure a great strategy call, but the gap is now coming down to 3.3. So now Danny can possibly start dreaming about a win. And then JJ might be under pressure in this final couple of laps. And, oh, rain! That's something as well. That's what I did not expect. Rain to come into the end of this race. I don't know if it's going to be too wet to stay out, but oh, looking at Jakob, it might be too wet already. Yeah, I can definitely see like some drivers are struggling already. These two are on the freshest tyres. Is it going to be time to pull onto Inters very soon? Let's just check Will. Let's see if he's finding any grip out there on the Inters. For some reason, I just knew he'd be an intermediate. He's in the 16s. Let's have a look to our laps. We're in the 12s. Or at least the... well, now into the 13s. But that wheel spinning. Almost wheel spinning. And look at that. The gap is now under 3 seconds. With 4 laps left. It's... almost... looking very likely could have a last lap battle between Danny and JJ. And can the RBs even do anything? Because they've entered a bit of a DRS train with Danny kind of just leading this entire gulf of cars. It would be a task to try and get past maybe one, but a good exit here, and Jakob could see himself getting into, well, as it stands, it would be him taking the podium over Uri. Don't know what the RB is going to do there, and yeah, he just can't seem to get close enough. Could someone possibly gamble into this? They definitely seem like they're struggling now. Uri and Jakob have made a little switch. .4 with 2 laps left. It might be too much for Danny to do. I think JJ might have it in the bag if he just manages to creep home. He has got the oldest tyres by a mile now. He might be entering puncture window. Not even Uri and Jakob did that along on hards, I think. So it would be a task. We could probably have a 6-car fight for the win if that happened. But look how close that gap is now. You can just see the Williams just coasting his way to the victory. You know, it's basically Williams versus Red Bull. I'm sure the two behind him want that to be a Red Bull podium or winner. I'm just not bothering, really, just to try and they know where they're finishing, really. But it's a matter of can they let Danny try and outscore them as we enter lap 35 out of 36. Penultimate lap, white flag, all the jazz. It's 2.1, so you probably wanted it to be a bit closer. And oh, Jay, another dive bomb, makes a move, kind of barges Frankie out of the way there. That was definitely contact, but in a championship so tense, you need it. JJ slides his way up into P3, which would end up being P6. Frankie definitely struggling on pace now. And he has also used up all his battery. Jane has had the best tyres out of everyone. Will takes a second, another penalty. I don't know how many he's on this entire day. Also being lapped by Stelios. I'm surprised DRS is still even enabled. Just look how wet it is now. Just look how they're just running so wide. Everyone's just struggling. And the RBs just can't do anything on those fresh tyres. As we enter the final lap of the race, JJ just has one to do. Look how he's struggling so much to even keep it pinned. This is such a weird ending to this Dutch Grand Prix. I think this is JJ's to take home. It's 1.8 the gap. Danny's there 1.8. J does run wide, but he will cover off the inside for Dan and Frankie to make the inside move. And RB's just defenses. Jakobs just kind of dropped off out of nowhere. So this possibly could be one of them. Well, no, he would be still taking a P4. It does look like Uri would be taking a podium in his return. Because surely... Just imagine if this was one extra lap of racing. If there was one extra lap, this would have been such an intense ending. But only a couple of corners left for Jay. I didn't see the first stint, but the second stint has been pretty much how we had these. I say Uri makes a little move as Jaden's binned it. I have no clue what's happened, but Jaden has binned it on a straight line, and all of a sudden, all of the hard work he did to make that move up into P3 on track has kind of been erased and has cut back to the winners though. Has been pretty much pole to flag. It has been JJ again handling pressure. Danny takes on his first podium of the season, and returning is Uri back on the podium, first time in the season. Frankie does get beaten by his teammate Samuel directly. Jaden spins across the line, and then we have Stelios and Will almost DNFing. That DNF streak was almost kept alive on the final lap, but I will have to end the stream now instead of at the end. There's all your penalties. That's the interval. That's the leader. And that is it. Thank you and goodbye.